That's absolutely how it works.
Nicholas Bordeaux, after seeing what Alderson had uncovered, agreed that some of these account methods appeared suspicious.
Didn't the hospitals worry they'd get caught?
Apparently not. They took action to keep the documents confidential.
What do you mean?
They would stamp them confidential, do not discuss, or release to Medicare auditors. When I saw that, I was just incensed. I was angry, because there's no such thing as a confidential document from a Medicare auditor.
Congressman Pete Stark, a California Democrat, is astonished that hospitals might be using two sets of books.
Hospitals are defending practice as being common in the industry, and they say there's simply nothing wrong with it.
Well, I suppose there's nothing wrong with it if they don't do anything with the second and third and fourth set of books, if they're doing it for practice. The fact is there's one way to keep a set of books. That's the right way, according to the law, reporting it straight up. If they're unsure, they can come and ask. They can get professional advice. But to keep two sets of books on the theory that they'll try the inflated set to collect and fall back to the honest set if they get caught is a crime.
Jim Alderson thought so too, but he didn't know what he could do about it. And then he heard about a Civil War-era law called the False Claims Act that allowed private U.S. citizens to sue people who had committed fraud against the U.S. government.
You drafted your own complaint?
Yeah.
Without a lawyer?
Without a lawyer.
It's an incredibly courageous move. It's a very brave thing to do. He's taking on this huge corporation with all of its attorneys, pro se, by himself. It was a monumental move.
Soon, the two of them, Alderson and Bordeaux, were on a plane to Washington, at Alderson's expense, to convince Justice Department lawyers to join Alderson's lawsuit, which is permitted under the False Claims Act.
When these two Montanans showed up at the Justice Department in Washington, what was the reaction?
We were not given a lot of credibility at first.
So, what did they tell you? Don't call us, we'll call you?
The response was non-committal.
But to their surprise, they had persuaded the Justice Department to take action. And long after, government subpoenas were served and later search warrants were executed on dozens of hospitals across the country. But the investigation took years.
This case was under seal for years. It was like he was living in the witness protection program. He couldn't talk about this to anybody because Justice Department didn't want it getting to the media. So here he is, going from job to job, trying to stay alive while he's trying to keep this case alive. And sometimes he was simply unemployed. This has been a long haul for him, a very difficult time.
But he kept on fighting. By now, he had hired Mr. Marr to help with his lawsuit. And the accounting methods that Alderson first revealed began to persuade federal investigators that they just might corral the biggest hospital corporation of all, Columbia HCA. For years, that company had seemed untouchable, despite mounting anger in many communities that Columbia HCA seemed to care more about profit than medicine.
The philosophy of Columbia HCA was to maximize profit at every turn. And people were given individual goals on note cards. Their promotions depended on it. Their bonuses depended on it.
Columbia HCA also fostered resentment for taking over non-profit hospitals, which had been built with the support of volunteers and tax exemptions.
They were often financing those acquisitions by cheating the government, by allowing Medicare to pick up part of the costs. And that's what this case is about.
Today, the first indictments.
As the government's probe intensified, Columbia's top management was ousted. But for Jim Alderson, the biggest moment came just 3 months ago when the U.S. Justice Department decided there was indeed substantial evidence of fraud by Columbia HCA and Quorum. The Justice Department joined Jim Alderson's lawsuit, and in doing so revealed for the first time Alderson's crucial role in helping uncover one of the biggest health fraud cases ever.
It was one of the neatest things when you see that Department of Justice seal coming through the fax machine, and all of a sudden I thought, it's there.
Of course, we wanted to talk to Quorum and Columbia HCA about allegations that they'd engaged in fraud, but neither would appear on camera. Quorum did give a written statement. We have tried our very best to follow all the applicable rules in seeking Medicare reimbursement. And Columbia HCA said their bookkeeping method is a common industry practice, not designed to cheat Medicare. Dr. James Bentley of the American Hospital Association said he's unaware of any fraud on the part of Columbia or Quorum, but he acknowledges he hasn't seen all the evidence.
You have not seen financial records of hospitals that have been stamped confidential, do not disclose or release to Medicare auditors.
I'm unfamiliar with that practice.
Speculate as to why they'd put it on there.
I have no idea why that would be added.
You'd be surprised if we were to show you such a document.
As I say, I've been in hospitals for 30 years. I've never seen a hospital that had that on a document.
Well, maybe he's never seen one, but we have. If Alderson's lawsuit succeeds, the government could recover in excess of $1 billion in fines and restitution. And under the False Claims Act, that would make Jim Alderson an instant millionaire.
I want everybody in the business to think about it and think, boy, I could be on the side of the good guys and win, or I could play with the bad guys and go to jail.
Worth it?
I honestly can't answer that now. There were some tough times.
Knowing what I know now and knowing how long it's been, I'm not sure that I would have ever agreed to it. I don't think that any amount of money is going to take care of what we went through.
Is he a zealot?
Not in the way that most people use the term zealot. He's not fired by some deep ideological flame or desire to change the world. Yeah. I think a better word would be tenacious. Somebody with a solid and core belief that this was wrong and a determination to do something about it. And it's a truly amazing example of how one man can make a difference.